So first we will start with the basic introduction. So directly I will not go into the histology, basic introduction, and along with that basic structure of the eyeball. After that I will go to the microscopic structure. Okay. Now you know that eyes are the peripheral organs of vision. Okay. Eyes, where they are situated? They are situated inside the orbit. Okay, and they are peripheral organs of vision. Now you have studied about the skull. You have studied about the skull, right? In the skull, have you seen the orbit? Now, I hope you have studied about the norma verticalis and norma occipitalis. You have not studied the norma frontalis. No. When you will study norma frontalis, at that time you will come to know about the orbit. Okay? So, in the orbit, anyone, do you have skull right now? किसी के पास skull है? It's okay. So orbit is having a boundaries, roof is there, floor, medial wall and lateral wall, and inside that eyeball is present. Okay, so that is the location for the eyeball. Next, if you see the eyeball, it is just acting as a camera. The lens which is there, it will be producing the image, and the image will be falling on the retina. In general, if you see, now whenever the light is falling into the retina, so different layers are there. Those layers, what they will do? They will convert the visual stimulus into electrical impulse, or also you can say a visual impulse. That visual impulse will pass through the visual pathway. Okay, and then it will go into which part of the brain? It will go into the visual cortex, which is present in the occipital lobe of the brain. After that only, whatever we see, it will be perceived, and then only we can see the object. Okay. So suppose you are looking at any object, the mechanism which is going on, so that is not that simple. That is quite difficult. Okay. For that, a complex pathway is there through which the visual impulses are traveling. Okay, unless and until it reach the visual cortex, you will not be able to see the object. Doesn't matter whether your eyes are functioning or not. Okay. Now, if you see the eyeball, the dimension approximately 25 millimeter, and the movements are also taking place in the eyeball. Okay, that means if you try to see any object without moving your head, okay, you can do that by moving the eyeball. Okay. I hope you have noticed that without moving the head, you can see the objects by moving your eyeball. Both the side you can see anything is situated above, if you see anything situated below. So how it is possible? Because of the movement of the eyeball. So ये कैसे होता है? How the movements are taking place? That is by the help of extraocular muscles. Okay, those are taking place by the extraocular muscles of the eyeball. Okay, very important. Today, if you remember, we have discussed about the extrinsic muscles of the tongue causing various movements, right? In the similar way, there are some extraocular muscles of the eyeball causing various movement of the eyeball. Next, if you see the structure of eyeball, three basic layers are there. What are they? Outer fibrous layer, middle vascular layer, and inner nervous layer. These are the three basic layers of the eyeball. Okay. Now, in outer fibrous layer, what are the components? Sclera and cornea. Sclera and cornea are the components of fibrous layer. Next, middle vascular layer, what are the components? Three components are there: choroid, ciliary body, and iris. These are the three components for vascular layer. And what about inner layer? It is made up of, inner layer is made up of what? Retina. Okay. So three basic layers. Okay. And what are the components present in those layers? So which is the outermost layer? Outermost layer, fibrous layer. Innermost layer, nervous cord or the nervous layer. Okay. Now, in our eyeball, two segments are there: anterior segment and posterior segment. Okay, let me show you the diagram. This diagram I hope you have seen earlier. Okay, section of the eyeball showing all the parts. Okay, now see this diagram is showing the segments of the eyeball. So see, this is the anterior segment and this is the posterior segment. Okay, now in the anterior segment you can see again two chambers are there. This is the anterior chamber and this is the posterior chamber, and the division is done by the iris. Okay, so the part of the anterior segment in between the cornea and the iris, that is the anterior chamber. Okay, and in between the iris and the anterior aspect of the lens, this is the posterior chamber. Okay, now this is very important. We will be discussing it. We will be requiring this particular part in the histology. That's why I have shown you. Okay, and beyond lens, so this is the lens, right? Beyond lens, ये जो पूरा part है, this is posterior segment. So how many segments are there? Two segments are there. Try to understand. So from here to here, this is the anterior segment. That means from the cornea to the lens, this is the anterior segment. From the posterior aspect of the lens to the optic nerve, from where it is coming out, this entire part is the posterior segment. Okay. In anterior segment, okay, or the anterior segment is divided into two chambers, anterior chamber and posterior chamber. From cornea to iris, this particular part is the anterior chamber. From iris to the anterior aspect of the lens, this is the posterior chamber. Okay. Now, can anyone tell me what is present over here and what is present over here? Which fluid? Yes, yes, very good. यहाँ पे क्या रहता है? Aqueous humor. यहाँ पे vitreous body. Okay. Now the aqueous humor which is present, okay, how it is formed? Which cells are responsible for production of the aqueous humor? Once it is formed, how it is drained back? Because aqueous humor continuously production हो रहा है. After that, it is again going back into the venous system. So continuously production हो रहा है and then it is going back into the venous system. Okay. If the drainage part is blocked or if it is not drained properly, then what will happen? Any idea? Pressure will increase, intraocular pressure will increase, and that condition is called as glaucoma. That condition is called as glaucoma. Now in this diagram, you can see three basic layers. Can you see the fibrous layer? Tunic का meaning है layer. Okay, so this is the fibrous layer where you can see sclera and cornea. Now you have to understand one thing. जो fibrous layer होता है, outermost layer, in that only we are getting sclera and cornea. It doesn't mean that sclera का layer अलग, cornea का layer अलग. No, it is not like this. In same layer only these two components are present, but the locations are different. Have you understood? Can you see the fibrous layer? Everyone? Yes. In the fibrous layer, as I said, two components are there. Sclera and cornea. So sclera and cornea are not present in different layers. They are present in the same layer only, but the location is different. Okay. Next. Okay. Or else you will think that पहले sclera आएगा इसके बाद cornea आएगा. No, it's not like this. In the same layer only they are present. Only the locations are different. Next, if you can see the vascular coat. Can you see the vascular coat? In the vascular coat, what you can see? First of all, you can see the iris, then you can see the ciliary body, and then you can see the choroid. Okay, so these are the components which are making the vascular layer. Now here also same, जो vascular layer है उसमें component तीन रहता है, but they are in the same layer. Locations are different. Okay, and lastly, can you see the inner layer? ये देखो, this is the innermost layer. Okay, innermost nervous layer where retina is present. So in retina also different parts are there. For example, nervous retina, non-nervous retina. Okay, so that you can see over here. So same layer. Okay. So first we will start with the fibrous coat. Okay. So what is there in the fibrous coat? What are the components of the fibrous coat? Sclera and cornea. Okay. These are the components of the fibrous coat. Now the main functions What are the main function of the fibrous coat? To maintain the shape of the eyeball, support the deeper structure. These are the main functions of the fibrous coat of the eyeball. Okay. Now, if you see the sclera, तो दो component होता है sclera and cornea. तो sclera is present in 85% of the area. Now, the fibrous coat is covering the eyeball. 85% of the fibrous coat is made up of sclera. Only 15% is made up of cornea. Okay. तो जो स्क्लेरा होता है मेनली फंक्शन क्या होता है स्क्लेरा का? इट प्रोवाइड्स अटैचमेंट टू द एक्स्ट्राओकुलर मसल्स. ओके, द एक्स्ट्राओकुलर मसल्स, व्हाट आर द फंक्शंस ऑफ द एक्स्ट्राओकुलर मसल्स? causing various movements of the eyeball. Okay, so those extraocular muscles are attached to the sclera. Okay, so this is one of the important function of the sclera. Next, if you see the sclera, what do you think? What will be the appearance? जो स्क्लेरा होता है उसका appearance कैसा होगा? Whenever you stand in front of the mirror, just look into your own eyes. If the white color part which you see, white color portion, that is nothing but the sclera. Okay, जो white color portion दिखाई देता है, that is the sclera. Next, if you see the cornea, cornea cannot be seen because it is transparent in nature. Okay, and it is positioned centrally in front of the eye, covers the pupil and iris. Okay, and the anterior chamber, that is the location of the cornea. Okay, now whenever the light is entering the eyeball, it enters through the cornea where the light gets refracted. Okay, so the main difference between the sclera and cornea are, if you see the structure almost same, I am not telling exactly same, but the main difference is the arrangement of the collagen fibers. Collagen fibers are present in case of sclera also, it is present in case of cornea also, but the arrangement is particular in case of cornea, which is not in case of sclera. That's why cornea is transparent in nature, sclera is not transparent. Okay, and sclera appears white in color. Next, in this diagram, now in this diagram you can see most of the eyeball, the fibrous coat is made up of sclera. Can you see? 5/6 of the eyeball. See this blue color structure. Actually, it is not blue. To make you understand, the color codes are given. So this entire part is made up of sclera of the fibrous coat. Okay, and only 1/6 of the anterior part is made up of cornea. Okay. Why most of the part is made up of sclera? Anyone? Think. I have given the answer just now. Yes, very good. Muscle attachment, it needs larger area. Okay, 6 extraocular muscles are there which will come and attach. So for muscle attachment, larger area is required. That's why. Okay. So human sclera, as I said, it is white in color. Why it is white in color? Because whenever the light is falling on it, okay, the light gets scattered of all wavelength by the dense irregular bundles of the sclera, collagen fibers of the sclera. That is a reason why it appears white. Next, in case of children, the sclera is bluish in color. Can you tell me why? Because the thickness is very less, and due to that you can see the capillaries of the choroid. That's why it is bluish in color in case of children, and in case of adult person it is yellow in color. Why? Because of the deposition of adipose tissue. Okay, so like this the color of the sclera changes according to the age. Next, so just now I have shown you that the sclera and the cornea. Okay, so anterior aspect is the cornea, and the other part laterally and posteriorly completely covered by sclera. Okay, that means there will be a junction. जो स्क्लेरा है ऐसे कवर करने के बाद एंटीरियरली क्या फॉर्म हो रहा है? कॉर्निया. दैट मीन्स देयर विल बी अ जंक्शन बिटवीन द स्क्लेरा एंड द कॉर्निया, राइट? So a junction is present between the sclera and cornea, and it is called as sclerocorneal junction. sclerocorneal junction, or also called as limbus. Okay. Now, posterior to the sclerocorneal junction or limbus, there is a canal. Okay, that is called as canal of Schlemm. Okay, as you can see, the sclera becomes continuous with the cornea at sclerocorneal junction, or also called as limbus. Okay. Next, a circular channel called sinus venosus sclerae, or also called as canal of Schlemm, is located to the sclera just behind the sclerocorneal junction. Okay, that means just posterior to the sclerocorneal junction, a canal is there, that is called as canal of Schlemm. Anyone have you heard about this canal of Schlemm? Canal of Schlemm is a very important structure. Okay, so just now I have shown you the segments of the eyeball, and I have shown you the anterior chamber, posterior chamber also. So at the corners of the anterior chamber, or also called as iridocorneal angle, okay, in that a canal is present. Through that the aqueous humor is draining into the venous system. Okay, so that is the canal of Schlemm. Very important structure. Medial to the canal of Schlemm, a triangular piece of scleral tissue is present, that is called a scleral spar, which helps in the drainage of aqueous humor. Okay. Next, if you see the optic nerve, it is attached to the back of the eyeball. Okay, medial to the posterior pole of the eyeball. Now, when the optic nerve is coming out from the eyeball, it is piercing the sclera. Okay. Now, the part of the sclera which is pierced by the fibers of the optic nerve, that is called as lamina fibrosa. Okay, that is called as lamina fibrosa. Sclera is completely covering. If something has to come out, it should pierce the structure. Unless and until it pierces, it cannot come out. Okay, so that particular part is called as lamina fibrosa. Now, here you can see the diagram. Okay, now in this diagram, I hope you can see the sclerocorneal junction. Okay, so here you can see this is the sclerocorneal junction. Okay, so which part is the cornea? This part is the cornea and this part is the sclera. So this is the sclerocorneal junction. Just posterior to the sclerocorneal junction, you can see a canal is there. It is called as canal of Schlemm. Okay. So I hope you remember I have shown you the anterior chamber and posterior chamber. Okay. So this is the anterior chamber. Now यहाँ पे क्या रहता है? What is present over here? Which fluid? Aqueous humor is present. So aqueous humor, as I said, after production it has to be drained, or else due to the continuous production the pressure, intraocular pressure will increase. So how it will drain? It drains through this canal of Schlemm. Okay. Next, medial to that, you can see a triangular tissue is there, which is a part of sclera, and that is called a scleral spar, which helps in the drainage of the aqueous humor. Okay, all those things we'll discuss in the gross anatomy part, not now. Okay, and mostly I have seen those things are not required also for first year. Okay, so because these things are quite complicated in this particular area. In this meshwork of capillaries are there, that also arrangement is different. Okay, which helps in the drainage. So till now whatever we have discussed, that was not histology, that was gross structure. From here the histology starts. Till now whatever we have discussed, that was the gross part. Histology यहाँ से start होगा. Basic, you have to understand the basic first. Then only you will be able to understand the histology. Okay, so now you have understood what is sclera, what is the importance of the sclera, what are the functions of the sclera, then about the cornea also. Now we will see one by one. That means the layers of the sclera and then the layers of the cornea. Okay, so how many layers are there in the sclera? 3 layers. What are they? Episclera, Sclera Proper and Lamina Fusca. Okay, these are the 3 layers. How they are arranged from outward to inward. That means which is the outermost layer? Yes, Episclera is the outermost layer. After that, middle one is the Sclera Proper or the stroma of the sclera, and the innermost is the Lamina Fusca. Okay. So one by one, first of all, Episclera. It is a vascularized layer where blood vessels are there, supported by connective tissue. Okay, and it is situated below the Tenon's capsule. Now, what exactly is this Tenon's capsule? So, Tenon's capsule is a facial sheath, okay, around the eyeball, separating it from the orbital pad of fat. तो जो orbits होता है, when you will see the skull at that time, whenever you take the skull, just see the orbit. Okay, so inside the orbit, eyeball is present, and along with that, orbital pad of fat is also present. Okay, so this orbital pad of fat is separated from the eyeball by this Tenon's capsule. Okay, which is a facial sheath for the eyeball. Deep to the Tenon's capsule, we are getting the layer that is called Episclera. Okay, so Episclera में mainly क्या रहता है? It is a vascularized layer where connective tissue is also present. Okay. Now, apart from the vessels, what else you can see? Unmyelinated nerve fibers, bundles of collagen fibers, fibroblast, and some amount of melanocyte cells are present. Okay, so these are the parts which you can see in the Episclera. Okay, these are the constituents of the Episclera. Now, anteriorly, Episclera will blend with the conjunctiva, subconjunctival tissue, okay, and Tenon's capsule, and it becomes very thin at the posterior to the equator of the eyeball. Why it becomes very thin? Because it is pierced by the optic nerve. That's why it becomes very thin. So, this is the Episclera. Next is the Sclera Proper. So, what is present in the Sclera Proper? It is also called as Substantia, Propria, or the Stroma. That means the main thickness of the layer is made up of Sclera Proper. Okay. तो इसमें क्या रहता है? As you can see, bundles of collagen fibers, elastic fibers. See, bundles of collagen fibers, elastic fibers, fibroblast, and ground substance. Okay, ground substance, proteoglycans and glycoproteins are present. Okay. Now, in the beginning, I have mentioned that in this layer, bundles of collagen fibers are present. Okay. So these collagen fibers vary in size. That means the size, or you can say the diameter of the collagen fibers are not same. It varies. Okay, so it ranges from 50 to 400 nanometer, and due to the varying size, the bundles of collagen fibers are irregularly arranged. Okay, bundles of collagen fibers are irregularly arranged. Due to this irregular arrangement of the collagen fibers, the sclera is non-transparent. Okay. Lastly, the Lamina Fusca, that is the innermost layer of the sclera. In that, you can see abundant pigment cells are there. That means the melanocytes, as you can see, abundant pigment cells are there. Along with that, loose connective tissue is also there. And the Lamina Fusca is separated from the choroid by a potential space that is called as suprachoroidal space or perichoroidal space. Okay. This space is important clinically for various surgical intervention and for drug delivery. Okay, so through this suprachoroidal space, various drugs can be administered in the eyeball. Now, here is the diagram. In the diagram, you can see the three layers of the sclera. Okay. So, first of all, here you can see the Tenon's capsule. So, deep to the Tenon's capsule, this particular layer is called as Episclera. Okay, तो Episclera में mainly क्या रहता है? You can see blood vessels are there, and along with that, connective tissue, loosely arranged connective tissue are present. Deep to that, this particular part is called as Sclera Proper or scleral stroma. The most of the thickness of the sclera is formed by this layer. इसमें क्या रहता है? Collagen fibers are there, bundles of collagen fibers, and along with that, proteoglycans and glycoproteins are present. Okay. Now the bundles of collagen fibers are not arranged properly, irregularly they are arranged, and along with that you can see the fibroblast also. Okay. Now this is the innermost layer. The innermost layer is also called as Lamina Fusca. So what is present over here? Huge amount of melanocyte cells are present. Okay. Connective tissue is also there, which is loosely arranged, and this Lamina Fusca is separated from the choroid. Now deep to this you will be getting the choroid, that is the vascular layer. Okay. okay, which is separated from the choroid by suprachoroidal space. Okay, so that is all about the sclera. Next is cornea. So where is the cornea situated? Anterior 1/6 of the eyeball is covered by cornea. Okay, so we know that cornea is transparent in nature, and if you see the shape of the cornea, it is convex, colorless, and avascular. Okay, so this is very important for cornea. It is colorless as well as avascular. What is the meaning of avascular? Yes, no blood supply. So the cornea is colorless, and if you see the cornea, it is convex in nature, avascular. Along with that, it is having rich nerve supply. Okay, avascular but having rich nerve supply. Along with that, it is colorless also. Why it is colorless? Any idea? Because it is transparent in nature, it has to be colorless. If it is not colorless, how you can see how the light can enter into the retina, and then it can fall into the retina. So that's why the cornea is colorless in nature. Next, if you see the microscopic structure, before going to the microscopic structure, so in microscopic structure of cornea, you have to know about the 5 layers of cornea. Okay, जो cornea है, in that 5 layers are present. Okay, what are those layers? As you can see, first of all, corneal epithelium is there. Okay, as you can see over here, corneal epithelium. The corneal epithelium will rest in a basement membrane that is called as Bowman's membrane. Then the corneal stroma, which is making the 90% of the layer, that is most of the thickness is made up of corneal stroma. Next, Descemet's membrane, okay, which is a thick and true basement membrane. And lastly, the corneal endothelium, okay, not epithelium, it is endothelium. So these are the layers of the cornea. So we'll see one by one. So see, in the beginning I have told you, here the concept is only about the layers. Okay, and you have to know about the each and every layers, and whenever you are writing, it has to be serial. For example, in the exam, if question comes that write the microscopic structure of cornea or histology of cornea, at that time you can't write first layer is corneal endothelium, second layer is corneal stroma. No, if you are writing correctly, then also you are wrong. You have to write serially. So which is the outermost layer? यहाँ पे outermost layer कौन सा है? Yes, corneal epithelium is the outermost layer. Which is the innermost layer? Corneal endothelium. Okay. So epithelium and endothelium is different. Okay, I hope you know that. So which will be the corneal epithelium? Which is the corneal epithelium? Stratified squamous non-keratinized. It's written over here. Stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Okay, that is the epithelium for cornea. Now there is a speciality of this particular epithelium. Can you guess what will be the speciality? Stratified का मतलब क्या? What is the meaning of stratified? What is the meaning of stratified? Multiple layers. That means here the cells are arranged in multiple layers. So first what you have to know? First you have to know that how the cells are arranged. Multiple layer means the cells resting at the basement membrane, which type of cell, then on the middle row which type of cell, and superficially which type of cells are there. Okay, that is the important. That is important because that is the arrangement of the cells. So if you see the diagram properly, this particular part already we have discussed. This is the sclera. Okay, so the layers of the sclera already we have discussed. Okay, now we are in cornea. Okay, so we'll be discussing the layers of the cornea one by one. So the outermost layer is the lining epithelium, or also called as corneal epithelium. Okay, now in corneal epithelium is the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium, also called as corneal epithelium. If you see the cells of the deepest layer, Cells of the deepest layer are columnar, middle layers are polygonal, and superficial layers are flattened. Also, you can say squamous. So, three different layers, three different types of cells are present. Okay. Next, if you see the EM structure of those cells, okay, on the surface of the cell, some projections are there, and they are referred as microvilli or folds of plasma membrane. Now the question is why these microvilli are present. The main function is they retain the thin layer of fluid over the cornea and doesn't allow the cornea to dry easily. Okay, or else cornea will get dried up easily. In the beginning I have told you, cornea don't have any blood supply. Okay, so the cornea can get dried easily. So if the cornea get dried easily, it is having rich nerve supply. Okay, you will get irritation in your eyeball. I don't know anyone in the classroom is suffering from dry eye syndrome or not. उसमें क्या होता है, suppose you are sitting under air conditioner for a long period of time. Okay, and I have observed, suppose you are sitting under heavily central air conditioner for a long period of time. Okay, at that time the thin film fluid over the cornea is to get dried up. Okay, as a result you will feel irritation. I don't know whether you have observed it or not. It happens sometime, not with everyone, but it happens sometime. Okay, तो ये क्यों होता है? Why it happens? Because that thin film fluid is dried up. Okay, and in case of cornea we don't have any blood supply. Okay, through diffusion from choroid it is getting the from aqueous humor it is getting the nutrition. Okay, and it is having rich nerve supply, so irritation can be felt very easily. Next, corneal epithelium, if it get damaged it can regenerate easily. So that is the corneal epithelium. Now this diagram you don't have to draw. This is a 3D diagram. What you can see in the diagram? Can you see the corneal epithelium? So it is in multiple layers. If you will see over here, see this epithelium is arranged in multiple layers. So these are the columnar cells, these are the polygonal cells, and then these are the squamous cells. Okay. Now the surface cells, can you see small microvilli are present, small cells projections. Either they are microvilli or they are also called as foldings of the plasma membrane. Now this particular microvilli, what they will do? They will retain the thin film fluid over the cornea and they will not allow the cornea to get dried up. Okay. Now deep to the lining epithelium, can you see a layer of the basement membrane? Deep to the lining epithelium, can you see the basement membrane? It is called as Bowman's membrane. Bowman's membrane क्या है? Nothing but the basement membrane for the corneal epithelium. ठीक है? तो corneal epithelium means stratified squamous. That doesn't matter whether stratified or simple. Every epithelium is having a basement membrane, right? तो यहाँ पे भी basement membrane है, and that basement membrane is called as Bowman's membrane. That's it. So it is a homogeneous lamina, okay, where the corneal epithelium is resting. If you see the thickness 8 to 10 micrometer, okay, and it is made up of randomly arranged collagen fibrils, and it acts as a barrier, prevent the spread of infection, provides the support to the corneal epithelium, and if it get damaged, the repairing is not taking place easily and it may impair the vision. Okay, that is the Bowman's membrane or the anterior basement membrane, or also called as limiting lamina. Next layer, the most important one, that is the corneal stroma, or also called as Substantia Propria, which is the thickest layer of the cornea. 90% of the thickness of the layer of the cornea is made up of this particular layer, corneal stroma. ठीक है? तो इसमें क्या रहता है? What do you think? What will be present in this corneal stroma? तो इसमें collagen fibrils रहता है, along with that ground substance are present. Okay, and here the collagen fibers are arranged in the form of lamellae. Okay, bundles of collagen fibers arranged in lamellae. Lamellae का मतलब क्या है? in the form of layers. So bundles of collagen fiber, bundles of collagen fiber, bundles of collagen fiber. Okay, like these layers of collagen fibers, bundles of collagen fiber in different layers. Okay, and along with, in between that, what is present? Ground substance, and along with that, some fibroblast cells are also present. Okay. Now the ground substance contain proteoglycans, that is sulfated glycosaminoglycan. Now if you see the collagen fibers present over here, okay, now they are parallel to each other in one lamella, and in adjacent lamella they are perpendicular to each other. That means the arrangement is having particular way. In a particular way the arrangement of the collagen fibers are done. That's why the cornea is transparent in nature. Okay. Now the fibroblasts are also present. See, repeatedly I have told you that wherever you will be getting these collagen fibers or ground substance, in that particular part you will be getting fibroblasts. Okay, because these are the cells which will produce the fibers which will lay down the matrix or which will lay down the ground substance. So that's why fibroblast cells will be present. Okay. Now here the fibroblast cell appears as star-like appearance, and they are also called as keratocytes or corneal corpuscles. Okay. Next layer is the Descemet's membrane. So Descemet's membrane is also called as Substantia Propria. It is present below the Substantia Propria or deep to the Substantia Propria. It is acellular in nature. The layer Descemet membrane is acellular in nature. Acellular का मतलब क्या है? Doesn't have any cells. Okay, so cells are not present. So instead of that, what will be there? Different types of proteins are present. Okay, as you can see, different types of proteins are there: fibronectin, laminin, then collagen fiber type 4, type 8, proteoglycans, heparan sulfate, keratin sulfate. Okay, like these different types of proteins are present in this membrane. Okay, so it is a true basement membrane. Under periodic acid Skiff staining method, it appears magenta bright. Okay. Now some fibers of the Descemet membrane extend to the sclera and the ciliary muscle. Okay. The fibers help to maintain the curvature of the cornea. The cornea is convex in nature, so that convexity is maintained by the Descemet membrane. Okay. The last layer is the corneal endothelium. Okay. Can forget about the corneal endothelium. What is the meaning of endothelium? Anyone? Yes, sir. Bolo. Inner of. I am not asking about the corneal endothelium. In general, what is the meaning of endothelium? Yes, very good. So we have studied about the blood vessel chapter, right? In blood vessel chapter we have discussed about the arteries, we discussed about the veins. तो उसका जो lumen होता है, doesn't matter whether it is artery or vein, the lumen of the blood vessel, it is lined by what? It is lined by this endothelium. Which type of epithelium is this? Bolo. Which type of epithelium is this? Simple squamous epithelium. Now, you have studied about the peritoneal cavity, right? Then what is mesothelium? Peritoneum is over, you have given exam also. And what is the mesothelium? Yes? No? Mesothelium. Find it out, right? What you have to find out about the mesothelium. See why I have asked? Because it is related to the endothelium. Okay, that's why I have asked what is mesothelium. Find it out. Where you will find? Not in internet. You will find in which part of the textbook? Peritoneum chapter. Okay. Doesn't matter which book you are following, उसमें जो peritoneum chapter है, जो peritoneum का layers है, उसमें अच्छा से दिया है. You take any book, तो find out what is mesothelium. So in corneal endothelium, okay, it lies the posterior of the cornea. Single layer of squamous cells are there. As you can see, single layer of squamous cells. Okay. Now, what do you think? What will be the function of the corneal endothelium? क्या फंक्शन हो सकता है कॉर्नियल एंडोथेलियम का? Let's see, first of all, the corneal endothelium, okay, of the anterior chamber of the eyeball remains in direct contact with the aqueous humor. So just deep to the corneal endothelium, what is present? Aqueous humor is present. Okay. Next, if you see the cells of the corneal endothelium, they are attached to each other by different junctions: zonular adherens, zonular occludens, and desmosome. These are the cell junctions between the cells of the endothelium. Okay. Now, corneal endothelium maintains the water balance in the corneal stroma. If excess water is entering the endothelium, entering the corneal stroma, it will pump it out, thus maintaining the corneal transparency. Okay. So, exchange is taking place, but in some case, if more amount of water is entering through the endothelium into the corneal stroma, it is pumped out by the corneal endothelium. Thus, it will maintain the transparency. Because if more amount of water will be deposited in the stroma of the cornea, it will lose the transparency. Okay. So, in that also, the corneal endothelium is helping. Next, this is the diagram. This is the histology of cornea. Can you see all the layers? So, which is the first one? Yes, corneal epithelium. So, which is the outermost layer? Okay. तो यहाँ पे outermost layer कहाँ पे है? ऊपर है या नीचे है? ऊपर. So, this is the corneal epithelium. Okay, not endothelium. So, epithelium is the outermost part for the cornea. Endothelium is the innermost part for the cornea. Okay. Next, can you see the basement membrane over here? That is called the Bowman's layer or the Bowman's membrane. Below that, this entire part or entire thickness, you can say 90% of the corneal stroma of the cornea is made up of the stroma, and here you can see the Descemet's membrane, this one, okay, which is a cellular layer where different types of proteins are present, and deep to that the endothelium is present. Okay. Now deep to the endothelium क्या रहेगा यहाँ पे? Anyone? Deep to the endothelium, what will be present over here? Just now I have mentioned. No, deep to the endothelium, aqueous humor. Deep to the endothelium, aqueous humor will be present. ठीक है? तो जो cornea का जो nutrition है, okay, that is taken up from this aqueous humor only. So that is about the cornea. So that's all about which layer? Fibrous layer. Fibrous, 3 layers are there. So among them, first one is oval. In first one, what we have studied about the sclera and cornea. Next, which layer is present? Which is the next layer? Vascular layer. Okay. Now, before going to the vascular layer, if anyone asks you, what is the reason behind the transparency of the cornea? These are the points. Okay. Everyone, please note it down quickly. These are the points. Note it down quickly. So why cornea is transparent in nature? First of all, it is avascular. Then a regular arrangement of the collagen fibers in the stroma. Okay. Next, if you see the refractive index of the collagen fibers and refractive index of the ground substance, both are same. That is also a reason. Now, do you remember the hyaline cartilage? Do you remember about the hyaline cartilage? Why I am asking? Because the matrix of the hyaline cartilage is also transparent in nature because of this refractive index. So you can correlate accordingly. Next, uniform and regular arrangement of the anterior epithelium and relative state of corneal dehydration, which is done by the corneal endothelium. These are the factors which makes the cornea transparent. If cornea is not transparent, light will not enter the eyeball. If light is not entering the eyeball, you cannot see any object. ठीक है? कोई भी object को देखने के लिए light should go inside the eyeball. Then only you can see the object. अगर लाइट अंदर नहीं जा रहा है, you cannot see any object. Next, we'll start with the vascular layer. Okay, before going to the vascular layer, I want to show you one diagram. So here you can see the diagram. Which part is done till now? Sclera and cornea is done. Okay, now we'll be discussing about the choroid. Okay, why I have mentioned choroid? Because this is a part of vascular layer. Vascular layer का कितना parts है? How many parts are there in the vascular layer? 3 parts. What are they? Choroid, then ciliary body and iris. These are the 3 parts of the vascular layer. Now in some book, I have noticed that vascular layer is also called as uveal tract. Vascular layer is also called as uveal tract. U-V-E-A-L. Uveal tract, meaning same. Don't get confused. Okay, in some book it is mentioned uveal tract. So if you have noticed, same like the sclera and the cornea, okay, these 3 components of the vascular layer, they are also placed in same layer only, just the location is different. As you can see, this entire part is made up of choroid. Okay, if you go anteriorly, then you will be getting the ciliary body, and if you go more anteriorly, then you will be getting the iris. Okay, so same layer, just the location are different. That's why structures are also different. Okay, so first we will start with the choroid. Now this particular layer is a part of vascular layer, vascular part. That means blood vessels will be present. Vascular का मतलब क्या है? What is the meaning of vascular? When blood vessels are present, right? So here you can see different types of blood vessels are present. In case of cornea, we have seen no blood vessels are there. How many layers are there in the cornea? 5 layers. Any layer we have not seen any of the blood vessel. But here in each and every layer we will be getting some blood vessels. So we'll start with the choroid. So choroid is a pigmented vascular layer. That means pigment cells are also present, and along with that blood vessels are also present. Okay, and where it is situated? It is situated in between the retina and the sclera. Okay, retina and sclera के बीच में रहता है choroid. Now if you see the extent, okay, posteriorly and laterally it is completely covering the eyeball, and it is also pierced by the optic nerve. Anteriorly it ends in an area that is called as ora serrata. Anteriorly it ends in an area that is called as ora serrata. Okay, ora serrata is actually it is a part of retina. Now I am not going into that, but we will be discussing about what is ora serrata. Okay. Next, it is merging with ciliary body, and as I said, posteriorly it is pierced by optic nerve, where it is firmly attached. Okay. Now it contains retinal pigment epithelial cells. Okay, and provides oxygen and nourishment to the outer part of the retina. Very important. जो choroid होता है, as I said, it is having pigment cells also, and it is having blood vessels also. So those blood vessels, what are the function? If you see the choroid, इसका location है in between the sclera and retina. Okay, so retina is having 10 layers. For that, blood supply is not same; it is different. So the outer layers of the retina, the blood supply is provided by choroid, and inner layers blood supply is provided by different blood vessel, that is the retinal artery. Okay, so retina is having multiple source from where it is getting blood supply. So जो outer part of the retina है, outer few layers, how they will get the blood supply? They are getting blood supply from the choroid. Okay. So choroid is having 2 important things, as I said. First of all, pigment cells are there, and along with that, blood vessels are also present. Okay. Next, if you see the layers, so how many layers are there in the choroid? 3 layers are there. Don't be so happy. The last one, branch membrane, it is again having 5 different layers. Okay. So choroid is having 3 different layers. from outside to inside, what are those layers? First of all, suprachoroidal lamina, okay, then choroid proper and basal lamina, also called as Bruch membrane. So first we will see the suprachoroidal lamina. Now this is the diagram. Okay, this is a beautiful diagram. This diagram only, it was not there in the previous slide. So this diagram I have added. Okay, what you can see in this diagram, क्या दिखाई दे रहा है? ऊपर ये पूरा रेटिना का पार्ट है. Okay, that we'll discuss next week. I am asking you to see this part. Can you see the choroid? Choroid दिखाई दे रहा है? Yes. So you can see the different layers of the choroid. So first of all, you can see the suprachoroid lamina. Okay, this is the choroid proper, and then this is the Bruch membrane. Okay, three layers are there in the choroid, right? So this is the suprachoroid lamina, this is the choroid proper, and this is the Bruch membrane. Now in choroid proper, different blood vessels are present in different layers. For example, you can see Heller's layer, Steller's layer, and choricocapillaries. Heller's layer में larger blood vessel arteries are present. Here mainly veins are there, and in this capillaries are present. Okay, together they will form the choroid proper. Okay, and here this is the Bruch membrane. Bruch membrane is very important. Why it is important? Because it is acting as a selective semi-permeable membrane through which the nutrition exchange is taking place, exchange of the waste material is taking place. Okay, तो ये देखो, आफ्टर ब्रांच मेम्ब्रेन यहाँ से रेटिना का लेयर स्टार्ट होता है. Okay, from here the layers of the retina starts. So these are the outer retina. These few layers are called as outer retina. Okay, now for this the retinal blood supply is not sufficient. Okay, for that यहाँ पे जो blood vessels है, from here it is getting nutrition. How it will get the nutrition? Through this Bruch membrane. Okay, so it is highly selective. Okay, because retina, from there the optic nerve starts, and optic nerve goes to the brain. So everything cannot be passed through the Bruch membrane. It can cause damage to the retina, delicate structure of the retina, or it can cause damage to the optic nerve also. That's why selective molecules are only passing through the Bruch membrane to reach the outer retina. Okay. So this diagram you have to draw. What you will do, up to this much you can draw in a practical notebook. Okay, showing the choroidal blood supply. Up to this much you can draw, showing the choroidal blood supply. This particular part you don't have to draw. Okay, this for that when we will discuss the retina, I am having a easy diagram for retina. Okay, whatever books you are following, you will see that the diagram, microscopic structure of the retina is very difficult. Okay, but I am having an easy diagram. I will share those diagram. Easily you can draw in the practical notebook and even during the time of exam also. ठीक है, तो कहाँ तक draw करना है? Draw it up to here. Is it clear everyone? In the practical notebook when you will write, ठीक है, for choroid, how much you will draw? You will draw up to here. इसको crop कर दो. Crop it from here. Draw up to here, showing the layers of the choroid and the blood supply which is going for the outer retina. Okay, this particular part you just remove it. Okay, this is for retina. Retina I will share a separate diagram, easy diagram. Okay, so first is the suprachoroidal lamina. So first of all, it is non-vascular, made up of delicate connective tissue where collagen fibers are present, elastic fibers are present, as you can see, and some pigments are there. Okay. Along with that, the nerve fibers are also present in this layer, which is forming a plexus, that is the suprachoroidal lamina. Next to the most important structure of the choroid, that is the choroid proper. Okay. Next structure, next layer is the choroid proper, the most thickest layer of the choroid. उसमें क्या रहता है? As you have seen, network of blood vessels are there. So here you will be getting the Steller's layer, Heller's layer, choricocapillaries. These are the three different layers. Okay, in those three different layers, blood vessels are there, along with that connective tissue and pigment cells are also present. Now the question is, in choroid, we know that choroid is a vascular layer, right? Then why these pigment cells are present in the choroid? जो pigments होता है, okay, what will be the function of those pigment cells present in the choroid? Choroid we know that it is a vascular layer, blood vessel should be there. चलो ठीक है, blood vessels के साथ connective tissue भी रहता है. What is the necessity of this pigment cells? Light. Okay, you have to understand one thing, whenever the light enters, it gets reflected from the various layers of the eyeball. Now those reflection, if it is going to the retina, again it will produce some visual impulses. Retina का function है, when light enters, it will produce visual impulse. Doesn't matter whether the light is reflected or it is going directly. ठीक है, तो here what it will do, जो unnecessary reflections होता है, that will be stopped. So this pigmented epithelium which is present, they will absorb those reflected light. Okay, so those reflected light will not go back into the retina to produce the visual stimulus. If that visual stimulus is produced, then there will be problem in the clear vision. Okay, so that's why these pigment cells are very important. So that is the choroid proper. Now which is the last, that is the in choroid proper, as I said, different blood vessels are there, okay, which are making the choroid proper, and along with that connective tissue is there, where we will be getting the melanocytes, lymphocytes, mast cells, okay, etc. Now nutrients diffusing out of the capillaries pass to the basal lamina to provide nutrition to the outer layer of the retina, very important, and that is done by the Bruch membrane. Okay, so Bruch membrane is a pentalaminar structure. Okay, pentalaminar matlab 5 layers are there. Okay, located in between the retinal pigment epithelium and fenestrated choroid capillaries. In between this, the Bruch membrane is present. Okay, if you see the Bruch membrane, it is rich, collagen-rich extracellular matrix, act as a molecular seal. Molecular seal का मतलब क्या है? It is having selected permeability. Okay, molecular seal means selected permeability. Now it regulates the reciprocal exchange of biomolecules such as nutrients, oxygen, metabolic waste products between the retina and the general circulation. Okay. Now we'll not go in detail about the layers, just the name of the layers are enough. Okay, so as you can see, the Bruch membrane 5 layers are there. So first of all, the basement membrane will be there for retinal pigment epithelium. Then inner collagenous zone, central band of elastic fiber, outer collagenous zone, and there will be a basement membrane for the choriocapillaries. This is how the Bruch membrane is formed. Okay, 5 layers are there, and through these layers only the exchange of the nutrient, exchange of waste material are taking place. Okay, from the normal circulation to the retina. In order to see the Bruch membrane, what we have to do? Can you see it under normal microscope? Then what do we have to use? Yes, bolo. No, without stain we can't see anything. I am talking that Bruch membrane cannot be seen under normal microscope. Then what we have to use? EM structure. Normal microscope में दिखाई नहीं देता है, तो then what will use? Electron microscope. Okay, so this is the electron microscope image of Bruch membrane. Can you see the layers? Now can you tell me which side is choroid and which side is? Okay, so here you can see the structure of Bruch membrane. Now which side is retina and which side is choroid? This side is retina and this side is choroid. In between you can see the layers. Okay, so which is the innermost layer? Which is the innermost layer? retinal pigment epithelium. Okay, here you can see the retinal pigment epithelium. So these are the retinal pigment cells. This is the retinal pigment epithelium. This is the innermost layer. Then here you can see inner collagenous zone, then central elastic, outer collagenous zone, and here you can see basement membrane for coracocapillaries. Okay, so these are the layers of Bruch's membrane. Now this diagram you don't have to draw. Okay, it's not that important also. Just to make you understand that how the nutrition is diffusing and how it is reaching the outer aspect of the retina, I have shown you this diagram. Okay. So that is all about the choroid, which is the next part in the vascular layer. Choroid, ciliary body, and iris. Okay, so the next structure is ciliary body. Okay, can you find out the ciliary body? ये देखो, this is the ciliary body. Okay, so if you concentrate over here, okay, so this particular part is done. Okay, so this is the fibrous coat where sclera and cornea already we have done. Now we are in the vascular layer. In the vascular layer, first we have completed the choroid. Now we will be discussing about the ciliary body. Once the ciliary body is done, we will discuss about the iris. Okay, so the ciliary body is the thickened part of the uveal tract. So see here also I have mentioned, here I have mentioned about the uveal tract. As I said, uveal tract and the vascular layer same. Okay, it is the thickened part of the vascular tract or the uveal tract. Okay, where it is situated? It is situated just posterior to the limbus or the sclerocorneal junction. Okay, so here you can see the sclerocorneal junction. Take posteriorly, you can see the ciliary body is situated. Okay. Anteriorly it continues with iris, posteriorly it continues as choroid. Okay, what is the main function? As you can see, it is suspending the lens with the help of the suspensory ligament of lens, which helps in accommodation of the lens for near vision. Okay, that means it helps in changing the shape of the lens, which is very important whenever you see any near object or whenever you are looking at a far object. At that time the shape of the lens changes. Okay, so that particular change in the shape of the lens is done by the ciliary body. Okay, now in ciliary body what is present? Okay, that means the microscopic structure of the ciliary body and the function of the ciliary body that we have to know. The ciliary body is made up of three components, that is the stroma, ciliary muscle, and bilaminar epithelium. Okay, bilaminar means two layers of epithelial cells are present. Okay, so first of all a stroma will be there. Okay, and then the main bulk of the stroma will be made up of this ciliary muscle, and it will be covered by bilaminar epithelium. Now the muscular component is made up of ciliary muscle. Three different groups of muscle fibers are there. Okay, circular, longitudinal, and oblique. Circular, longitudinal, oblique. These are three different groups of muscle fibers, which together constitute the ciliary muscle. Okay, can you tell me what will be the function? Mainly the muscles changes, the contraction of the muscle changes the shape of the lens, and along with that it also helps in the aqueous humor drainage. Okay, the ciliary muscle. So here you can see the ciliary muscle is responsible for producing alteration in the convexity of the lens through the suspensory ligament, enabling the eye to see the object at varying distances. That means suppose you can see this object. Okay, if the object is placed near to you, if the object is placed far to you, accommodation is required, accommodation of the eyeball. Then only you can see the object clearly. Now suddenly, suppose you are looking at a distant object. Okay? Now for example, just focus in this particular part, this particular object. If I bring something just in front of your eyeball like this, you can't see. You have to focus it. Okay? You can't see in this one, you have to focus it. Okay? So for that, the ciliary body is playing a major role. उसका जो ciliary muscle है, group of muscle, उसका जो एक्टिव कॉन्ट्रैक्शन है, what they will do, they will alter the convexity of the lens, which helps to see the object at varying distances. Okay. Along with that, as I said, it also helps in aqueous humor drainage. Next, the inner surface of the ciliary body, okay, is lined by double layer epithelium. Inner surface is lined by double layer epithelium. So double layer matlab two layers of cells will be there. Now here double layer doesn't mean that stratified. You have to understand one thing. यहाँ पे डबल लेयर का मीनिंग नहीं है कि दिस इज स्ट्रेटिफाइड. दो टू layers of cells are there, and mostly those cells are either columnar or cuboidal in nature. Okay, one layer is pigmented, another layer is non-pigmented. Okay, like these two layers of cells are present. Okay, so outer layer is, you can see these are pigmented, and inner layer is non-pigmented. Okay, so cells of the inner layer, the main function is they produce aqueous humor. Okay. Next, from the ciliary body, some projections are there. 70 to 80 projections are coming out from the ciliary body. These are called as ciliary processes, and those are also covered by ciliary epithelium. Okay. Next, in the ciliary stroma, mainly suprachoroidal, vascular, basal lamina of the choroid are present. Okay, along with that, we are getting the collagen fibers, which supports the ciliary vessels, nerves, and ciliary muscle. So these are also present in the ciliary stroma. Okay, and ciliary epithelium, as I said, secrete aqueous humor. Two layers are there. Outer one is pigmented, inner one is non-pigmented. So जो non-pigmented part है, it will produce the aqueous humor. Okay. Next, zonular fibers are also there. Okay, which are all together they are called as suspensory ligament of lens. Okay. Now these are made up of fibrillin, a special type of protein of the connective tissue. Okay, which form the suspensory ligament of the lens. Next, here you can see the diagram. Now this is the diagram showing the structure of ciliary body. ठीक है, तो ciliary body में क्या रहता है? As I said, two layers of epithelium. As you can see, two layers of epithelium. Okay, and then this is the stroma. Now in the stroma, mainly blood vessels are there, collagen fibers are there, and along with that, what is present in the stroma? Ciliary muscle. Okay, ciliary muscles are also present. Okay. Now the ciliary processes. Okay, let me show you the first diagram. Yeah. So from the ciliary body, you can see the projections which are coming out. So this is the ciliary body from which you can see the projections are coming out, and these projections are also lined by the double layer epithelium, bilaminar epithelium. Okay. So these are the ciliary processes. So from the ciliary process, you can see the zonular fibers. Okay, they are going and they are suspending the lens. So these zonular fibers together, they are forming the suspensory ligament of lens. They are formed by fibrillin, a special type of protein of connective tissue. So that is all about the ciliary body. Okay. Next part is the iris. So what I am planning is in the next class, that means next week, I will continue with the iris. Okay. First we'll discuss about the iris. So we'll discuss about the iris and then we'll go to the retina. Okay. So for everyone, please listen carefully. The diagrams which you have to draw over here. First, for sclera, please don't draw this diagram. Okay, I'll share one separate diagram. Okay, then you can draw. Please don't draw this diagram. Next, please leave the page. Okay, later on you can draw the diagram. For cornea, already the diagram is there. Okay, this one you have to draw for cornea, and along with that you have to write the chart also for cornea. Next, for choroid, this diagram, as I said, up to this much you will be drawing for the choroid. Okay. Next, for the ciliary body also, diagram I will share later on. Okay, and for the iris, the diagram is there which you can draw. Don't draw this diagram. For iris, this diagram is there which you can draw. Okay. Now for the ciliary body, okay, I will share a easy diagram, a simple diagram. The diagram which you can see over here, it is a 3D diagram, not drawable diagram. Okay, so don't draw that diagram. Similar diagram which is drawable or schematic diagram, that I will share later on, so that you can draw the diagram. Okay, so first the diagram for sclera and the diagram for this choroid. Okay, diagram for sclera, choroid and ciliary body. These three diagrams, just keep the page blank. Later on you can draw the diagram. Okay, so as you have noticed that every time whenever we are going to any of the layer or any of the structure, multiple layers are there. Okay, so iris I have not started. Okay, we will be starting next week. Here also you can see multiple layers are there. See, in iris also multiple layers are there. So that will constitute the vascular layer. Next we will go to the nervous layer, where retina is there. Again 10 layers are present. Okay, so in order to understand the thing, you have to study. Okay, thank you.